Welcome, Mary. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited for you to talk to us about maintaining a sense of humor through the caregiving journey. This is a part of Duluth Aging Support's community conversations, and I'm really excited to have you today. I've admired your sense of humor through your own journey with your husband, Pat. I am Mimi Stender, the Executive Director of Duluth Aging Support. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Mary McGovern. I live in Minneapolis. Pat and I were married for 59 years, 59 and a half years. And when I met him, he went to the University of Michigan and I went to the University of Wisconsin. And he told me he was a legend in his own time. And for the next 59 years, he continued to work on that journey. We had more fun than any two human beings could have the most wonderful friends in our life, have moved many times. And as any life, we had ups and downs, but I'll tell you, it was a fun journey. And always, I will have to say, kept our funny relationship and laughing to the end. And I think that is so important. When in 2002, Pat had back surgery and they didn't check his carotid artery before the surgery, and the surgery went longer than they thought. And the next day, he woke up and was fine. And then about a day later, he had a stroke. And so he was at Sister Kenny for I don't know, I can't even remember, a month recovering from major back surgery and then this huge stroke. And he was, I just remember the body cast, and he was sort of like Frankenstein's monster. I mean, just so it's such a terrible brain injury that you're combative and your personality is gone. And then he came home, and those days were kind of a blur. But we worked through it, and with family and friends, and he continued with rehab, and then he, amazingly enough, recovered. So the other side of his brain took over. He could golf. He was a right-sided brain, so he never had aphasia, and it was only his left side, and he was back to normal, which is, we called him Lazarus actually, because he could have fallen out of an airplane and been fine. And he was back. Then I'm trying to remember. I mean, and he had a couple other incidents of being down, but nonetheless, that was basically it. Had a little heart thing, got that fixed. And, about the time you called him out, he was bouncing back. He was Irish and never planned to die. So there you have it. But anyway, about, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, it's sort of hard to remember, he started to have a little back pain, and slowly his stroke issues came back. And it was the result of, we went to spine people. Whatever the metal they put in his back, his lower back, was compressing the spinal cord, and the stroke issues came back. And so his hand curled up, and he could walk, but then he didn't have good balance, and then he was afraid of falling. And so it just prompted weakness, and then bladder infections, and then we tried to get the arm fixed, and then he finally had a baclofen pump that is for spasticity to release his arm, and then that caused a problem, and then we had to have it fixed again. And just 4 years ago, we went to Israel, and I just got a portable wheelchair, and we had somebody help him. And then a year after that, we went to Egypt, and he went down to see Tut and was great. So his personality was there. He just couldn't walk far. So, and it was terrific, and all of it was terrific, and the memories were terrific. We continued to come down to Destin, Florida in the winter, and I drove, and we would fly and take the wheelchair and dogs and carriers, and it was, we looked like a flying ambulance, but it was just great. And we'd get here and he'd be fine. Here is one of my caregiving, well, I'll talk about it later, but the good thing for me was that he was light weight.
Yeah.
And I'm strong. If I had been frail, I couldn't have taken care of him, or if he'd have been a big guy. But it was easy. And he could still, at the very end of his life, I didn't have to help him in the bathroom. I needed to help him get dressed. He could shave, he could eat. So those parts of my caregiving were not there. But last year, we really didn't go many places. I mean, I get him, I could get him in the car enough. We would go to somebody's house occasionally, but it was just easier to have people in. So lots of people in, lots of neighbors in, doors always open, neighbor dogs in, eating our dog food, kids in, hi, Mr. Pat. And that was what kept him alive. And so my caregiving, I guess, was as I said to Mimi, every case is different. He would sleep later in the morning, and so I would be up doing whatever, and then I'd hear him from the bedroom going, I'm alive. And I'd go, oh no, another day. And then we'd laugh and laugh and laugh. So laughing was our coping. Although I didn't really find the coping so hard. I was so happy he was there. He had some dementia, more like forgetting names, which he never remembered anyone's name anyway. So it wasn't different. But we could sit and talk about these trips and our family and the kids and friends and, you know, what was going on in the world, because he watched TV all day. And I think that is so much easier for a caregiver than someone who is caregiving someone with a lot of dementia, because they're really not there. He was there physically and emotionally.
Right.
And so my heart aches for people who don't have that, because that's what I miss. Just oh, Mary, you look so good. He got real complimentary in his last like 4 years of life, which was smart, because then I liked it and I took good care of it. Oh, you look so good today, Mary. I love those earrings. Are those new? You know, I go, no, thank you, darling. And then the day before he passed, he just said to me, you know what? I don't feel like myself today. And that's as bad as it got, which is such a gift. And he said, can I go to bed? And early, and I said, oh, darn it. He liked to play cards every night. And I said, oh, who am I going to play cards with? Now I have to watch Netflix by myself. We laughed, and off he went to bed. I put him in bed, and in the morning he woke up with a filled chest. He could barely breathe. And I said, sit up and let me pat you on the back. And he just looked at me and smiled and leaned back and was gone. So all I'm saying is that's as good as it gets. Sunny day, help immediately, family, you get double rainbow that night. So that's my kind of story and journey. Well, and I think because I almost lost Pat back in 2002, and I mean, maybe not to death, but maybe never coming back as a person, I was so grateful when I had it. So it's all kind of relative, but we love life and laugh. And I'm not saying that haven't been down or sad, but in general, I just look at our friends, some of our friends who, some have horrible dementia, some have, various other diseases. And I went, Pat, aren't we? And when he would say, we are so lucky, we were so lucky. So I think focus on what you have instead of what you don't have. Focus on, and again, everybody's different, but, and there are times, like after Pat's stroke, and then when he would be in the hospital and come back, he would be real agitated and angry, that anger, he would go, I can't eat this, Mary, I can't eat this. And then you just want to say, go to your room, or you want to bash them about the head and body with a hammer. But I would just have to pull back and just not interact, because it wasn't him. So I would just pull back and say, okay, I'll be on the front porch reading if you need, something like that. But again, here we are. Take from this what you want.
Right.
It maybe doesn't have any relevance to your situation, but smile when you can, be thankful when you can, say I love you. And that wasn't something that we just threw out there a lot, but that was really sweet, as he got older. And thank heavens that, when somebody passes, you go, oh, I wish I had said, no, we didn't have any of those things left.
One of the things I'm going to ask you to share, because again, I admire this greatly about you, is how you've dealt with your mourning the loss of Pat, and been able to, really still go after life. And I know that he's in your heart and thoughts all the time. He's your angel, but you still have a lot left. How are you able to do that?
Well, you know what? Again, I knew that this day would come. I mean, he was declining. You know, when you are sleeping most of the time in a chair, and my grandson is in med school, and he said, "Gogo," I said, "What do you think is happening?" And he said, "Gogo, Pat's body is just slowing down." So I just felt grateful, and immediately my family, I'm lucky to have two families, 4 adult grandchildren living within 10 minutes of me, came all together, and I moved into one of their houses, and we again just played games and remembered. And I had made a video of Pat's life for his 80th birthday, and we showed that. And you know, he was such a character, and we all loved him so much that we just talk about him like he's right there.
Yeah.
What would Pat say to this? Well, you know, and he would say. And so he's still there.
Yeah.
Mr. Pat has not gone anywhere. And he just loved people so much. I was telling Mimi that he was always in his chair, and neighbors would come in and say, "I just had to come in and kiss him on the head today." Never lost his hair, never got gray. I mean, who knew? Always looked good.
Well,
So,
and that smile,
that smile, always smiling.
smile, he would look at you with this, it didn't matter how not well he was feeling. He just had that devilish
He
grin.
never complained. I'll have to say, if somebody's a complainer, that would be hard. There is a site, you go online to Storyworth. It's one word, Storyworth.
Yes.
And I believe it's $90, and it's for the year. So I had my kids give it to me for Christmas last year. And so that's it, $90. Every week I get an emailed question. Mary, who were your best friends when you were in grade school? Tell us, write about your neighbor. What kind of games did you play as a child? More of that. Tell us about your favorite trip your family took. Just little things. So you get 52 questions. You can change the question. You can add your own question. You can write 20,000 pages or one word. You can add pictures or none. And at the end of 52 weeks, and you just send the email back after you write it.
Yep.
In 52 weeks, they publish it as a book.
Oh.
And so I have told many people, and I told a neighbor whose wife has cancer, and he's about my age. And I said, "Lloyd, what a wonderful gift this would be for your wife. She can tell you, and this could be something to talk about at night, and you can type it in." I mean, it's simple. It's like writing an email. It's nothing.
Yeah.
And how wonderful to have her share what she wants people to remember. It's the little things. It's not,
Yes. Yeah.
And I have so many memories have come back and dug up. It's like you're digging in sand and you go, "Oh my gosh, I've got to tell them about our croquet tournaments in the backyard." It's that kind of thing. And so Lloyd got it. And then he came by and I said, "Lloyd, how's it going?" And he said, "Well, I decided to write about myself." All right, well, each to his own. But that would be another really, because when someone is gone, so often you say, "I wished or for children and grandchildren, I wished I had asked them this. I wished I'd asked that." And so those are and I ask my grandchildren, "What would you like to know?" So I just keep a list of questions, and then I'm still at it. I'm still writing. I kind of extended it because I'm getting more and more into it. So I've been doing that and just doing a lot of those kinds of things. I saw, but there's a source called One Day You, ONE Day You, for $7.95 a month. You get 4 lectures a week that you can watch online for the rest of your life. So if it's live Monday at 4, after 4 o'clock Monday, you can always resource it. It comes in email, so I can watch 4 lectures a week on a myriad of subjects, from Lincoln to the economy to Leonardo da Vinci to whatever. And we would watch those, and do Netflix and watch the history and when Rome fell or whatever else, Caligula, whatever you want to learn about. But so learning together is important. Games.
I think that is a really, really effective tip. lifelong learning is,
lifelong learning and talking together. We both love history. We had been, we'd been to Israel. So I pulled up one at Netflix about the history of Israel. And then we watched a tour of Israel, blah, blah, blah. And it was so much fun. Oh my gosh, we were there. Remember that? That's what keeps it going. And it's even good for somebody with memory issues. But so you can learn $7.95 a month. It's the best $7.95 you're ever going to spend. Everyone should do it. Our physician told me of various resources, and she asked me, I would say 6 months before he died, and he was, fine. Was I interested in hospice care? And I went, well, no. And she said, hospice care is not just for end of life. Park Nicollet offers all kinds of free care, people to come in and bathe, people to come in and stay, people to bring food. So that was a resource I didn't know was there. But the other point I want to make is to get nutrition in somebody. I got a really powerful juicer, and now I'll make this a joke. I told Pat if he didn't eat, I was going to juice him. And that's a joke. But I did, every vegetable I could think of, every fruit I could think of, sweet potatoes, everything. And he drank it. He was very good about it. So he was really getting good nutrition. I didn't have to worry about, oh, Pat, you've got to eat more. That always being, look, thank you for taking care of me every day. He said it. I couldn't do it without you. Please have fun. Enjoy your life. And so my other tip is take care of yourself. It's so important that you do not immerse yourself in this person's care. I mean, I'm saying that a little facetiously. Of course, some people need gobs of care, but have a life yourself. Find somebody to stay with this person so you could have lunch out. Get people in to enliven. I mean, order food in or bring it in or have them bring food, doesn't matter, just so you can interact with others. Play games if you can. Our family came over a lot and we're game players. And so he was always involved, or, even if he just sat there and loved it, and then they'd go and he'd say, aren't we lucky? Every night, aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky? Just do what you can.
do what you
Do
can.
what you can and get out when you can.
Yeah.
And take this person if you can. You can go anywhere with a wheelchair.
I think that's so smart. So you've tackled a lot of ground here. You've woven in some tips. You've talked about, your journeys, of the ups and the downs, and coping, and dealing with the grief. There's a lot here, Mary, and I am super grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I don't want to minimize caregiving, but it sort of is what you make it. You can don't let yourself get down.